tons. We're homebrew bound. Welcome to Homebrew Bound. I'm Casey.
Hey, what's up? It's Brian. Catchy catchphrase.
Catchphrase here. Please insert. And this is the best beer show on the internet.
Indeed.
Because it is. All right. So, yeah, man, Brian, it has been, well, I guess for the listeners, there's been no time skip at all. So we'll just...
Is this going to be, it's going to be a week?
This one comes out from the time we record it, 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we're like, we had this nice like 12-week window, and it has slowly shrunk.
Oh, it's just summer, man.
No, I completely I wasn't blaming you. I'm just as much to blame.
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah, we had the great backyard redneck homebrew party of 18.
That was a really good time. We haven't. I suppose we haven't talked about Drain the Keg.
Oh man, yeah. All I know is that we rolled in and drank here at the studio. There's an ample backyard, and it, I don't know how far the reach of this goes, but we're in like a pretty rural part of Wisconsin.
Yep.
And the cops definitely came.
2 times.
Twice.
The first time was before 10 p.m. And we weren't doing anything wrong was the best part. Is like the cop showed up and was like, am I in the right spot?
For God's sake. And I mean, you can see us on camera, hey, we're quietly playing nerd games in the backyard and we're accused of drinking like rednecks.
Yeah.
Which I'm pleased by.
Yeah,
so.
And I want to know, I mean, I guess we kind of had a janky setup. We had, 4 kegs going and bottles and...
Yeah, it's true. But what were they doing? Sitting there with binoculars?
Looking at they got a redneck setup in the backyard.
They had steel.
And they had crock pots full of food.
So weird. It smelled like tacos.
Yeah, and it was a weekend on a Saturday.
Was the tipping point.
Well, the worst part is the rodeo was 2 weeks later, and sitting in the backyard, I could hear it clear as day. Just all the noise. And then a week after that, they had a massive concert up at Hoffman Park. And I could hear the lyrics clearly from from my backyard.
Well, I'm sure there was some twanging going on.
I feel like we were much quieter than this.
And there wasn't as much twanging as
there was
say.
not, yes. I don't know. It was a good time, though. We drank some beer. We killed 2 kegs, I think, and...
I don't even remember what I was drinking the whole time because I was switching it up a bunch.
Yeah, I was drinking a lot of Golden Ale, a lot of California Common.
I think that's what I think I was after
some
the
milk
Cal
stout
Common too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the Cal Common was a hit. I think I don't have much left.
Well, I mean, I guess it's been a pretty hot summer. I mean, it's really fucking hot today.
It is. We had this really nice fall was here, and then it's the 80 degrees.
This Minnesota, Wisconsin weather where sometimes it'll be 50 degrees and the next day it's 85 and so humid that you can't even move.
I was this close to taking my my AC out last week, my window unit, and I'm so glad I didn't.
I did in my living room, but I'm not in there as much anyway.
Yeah.
So.
No, I needed it to sleep just because it was so hot and humid.
It has to be on when I can't even. Just no thanks. It's got to be like a fucking meat locker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll wake up sometimes and be like, oh god. And
I've gone under the comforter.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, it's good light beer drinking weather, but we're getting to.
So what have you been up to beer wise? Talking about beer. Any new things going on at the brewery?
God, yeah. So we expanded distribution to Madison. So if that, it'll make more sense if I just simply say our distribution goes to about 3.5 hours, almost. Probably closer to 3.5 hours away from our central location now in Hudson.
So you're halfway through Wisconsin now.
Correct. Yeah. So. We're just pushing along, selling into a lot of liquor stores and bars along the way, and the Dells and Baraboo and all that. So as far as new stuff goes, excuse me, I can't remember. I think Excuse me, I'm already burping up this staghorn. I don't remember if I mentioned this story on the Homebrew podcast, but I'm pretty sure I did on DOO. But we had a new brewer. He's new-ish. He's 3-4 months. Ethan, he came to us from Swinging Bridge in River Falls here by way of a brewery in
Costa Rica.
There you go. Thank you. And he came back, and immediately when I heard he was back in town, my people it sounds so dumb. My people got a hold of his people.
I had my people get in touch with his people.
Yeah, no, because I didn't know how to
both
get
important enough for people.
I didn't know how to get a hold of him, so I had a friend of a friend got a hold of him and was like, "Tell him we want to hire him." And basically, that's pretty much what happened. But that said, his first batch. Now, when we in a professional brewery, we have temperature control within a half a degree or less. So with your, I suppose eventually we'll talk more about yeast here. We'll focus on it more. But when you are fermenting, obviously, from what reading you folks have probably done, you want to keep it a pretty tight temperature control. So we have what's called a glycol system, and so all of the vessels are jacketed with this coolant, and so I can keep my tanks, it doesn't matter how big they are, I can keep them within a half a degree of temp. So I had another one of my employees sort of sent me a text and said, "Oh man, what it really just reeks like banana in the back of the brewery. Like what for when you're making beer, like what is that smell? Like where does that come from?" And I said, like a really high temperature Belgian yeast fermentation. You'd get a lot of banana if you just kind of let it free rise. With this specific POF plus Belgian strain, it was BE256 dry, I believe, if you're savvy. And I sort of started thinking about it, and I was like, wait a minute, it shouldn't be exhibiting that much banana because we kept it pretty low. And it turns out that Ethan, new brewer, made his first major oops in the brewery, which is probably good to get it over with. And also good to get it over with that particular type of strain. So we let that one sit, but had just sort of released it relatively recently, and it ended up being a really nice Belgian Golden Strong. It does have that stretched body quality, so a little bit of like cider, a whole bunch of banana, and very strong. But it's not overly hot or boozy. So it did condition a little bit. So there's something to be said about just.
Is that one that you guys released as episode?
Yeah, that would be the episode 3 beer.
Yep.
So we kind of are Star Wars nerds, and so that's.
Hey, that makes sense though. I feel like Revenge of the Sith might have been a fuck up too. So.
Yeah, well, something to be said about that too. It's also debatable, but yeah, these episode beers we do. We don't do smash beers necessarily. I mean, we don't. Purposely.
Did you call it no?
What happened to my appendages? Yeah, it was 2 malt, 2 hop, 2 sugar. So usually it's a 2 malt, 2 hop beer. But this one, it was like I want to add sugar, but we got to go with the theme, so let's add 2 types of sugar. So there was honey and table sugar.
Oh, okay.
Which I mean, you can use candy sugar, but I don't feel like clear Belgian candy sugar lends anything that table sugar doesn't. So
we had a beekeeper on the show last week, and then he was here for a Rules of the Arena interview, and he hung out on DOO last week, and it was a fun episode. But he had some really interesting things to say. Like there's apparently this type of honey that has like bee bits and stuff in it. But it's still good honey. Like if you would be able to strain that out, it's just like darker and it's not the right color. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that would work for brewing, and that's kind of what we were talking about.
Yeah, I think it would work great because you'd get a lot of residual flavor and complexity and weirdness.
And he was saying it's super cheap, which is even better for brewing.
Even better because honey is so stupidly expensive.
It's ridiculously expensive.
I mean, and then with mead, I mean it sits and it needs to clarify it and sit and get nutrients and have this schedule for so long that it might even, be worth your while.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
Me beer wise.
Yeah. What's up?
What have I been? I don't know, man. I've just been kind of doing a lot of little drinking of beer. My brewing schedule. I'm at the end of this every style challenge.
Yeah. Where are you at?
And I keep losing steam, and like yesterday,
Can't imagine why.
Well, yesterday I was supposed to brew 2 beers yesterday, 2 beers today. I didn't brew it all yesterday because I kicked my ass working out on Friday, and I woke up and just couldn't move.
Yeah,
and
no.
I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm fucking brewing today. So I
Lift a bunch of heavy shit.
yeah, no, thank you. So no, I have 1 weekend left. I'm taking the 2 brews I was supposed to do and moving it to that weekend. We're gonna do one like super weekend, just finish it up. So I'm done by October.
Get it the hell done.
Yep, just be done. We're gonna bottle a bunch of shit and just be done. I'm so excited for that day.
Ooh, you know what? Here's the thing I forgot about. So there's this new local burger company, and they had this idea to, like on our packaging day at the brewery, to take the beer and within a half an hour after it's kegged, bring it up to the burger place, the restaurant.
Is that the new Milwaukee Burger
Milwaukee
Company?
Burger
Okay.
Company, and that's a Jordan Getz super good idea.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
I would
That's
buy
like a
into
new
that.
or that's like a small chain, right? Small Wisconsin chain, or is it?
Yeah, I think I'm assuming it's Wisconsin only.
I don't know.
I think there's 5 in the Milwaukee area. There's a bunch in Madison,
Yeah.
and there's one in Hudson.
And it just kind of like popped up like in Hudson one day. I was driving past. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
It was quick. They had, an existing building, and
There where the Shanghai Bistro was, right?
Yeah. Well, the reason why it popped up so quick is because there are a limited amount of liquor licenses in town, and the liquor licenses are population based, and similarly, they are tied to like the building.
Aren't the liquor licenses arbitrary and set by the city council?
Yeah. Depends on it. I don't want to talk out of turn, but I think sometimes it depends on who is getting said liquor license that
Yeah.
it matters some. And why would you'd always go for like the stimulation of the local economy rather than pulling it to a chain or
Yeah, pull it from Applebee's. Nobody goes there anyway.
well, it's like the local like Family Fresh or whatever. They're like trying to get one, and then there's the movie theater locally as well. But I don't think that they're owned.
No, they're a
so
big chain. I think they're owned by like some central managing company, and
yeah. So I think the city council, as it is their duty to issue said liquor licenses, I think they do what they need to do to try to keep it local. From what I can tell. But if someone else has a different opinion, I'm willing to listen to it. So
all right.
Anyway.
Why don't we talk about a homebrew that I made?
lovely.
So this is my the Every Style Challenge Scottish Heavy, which very misleading nomer.
Crap.
Because,
what is the 2015 BJCP style number and letter?
it is 14B.
Got it.
14B. A little bit of a misnomer because it's 3.5%.
Yeah.
As the heavy, which all right, I'm okay with that. But if you go to the wee heavy, which sounds like it would be smaller, that is 12%. So
right. And historically, these beers are lighter, and a lot of times don't like for as far. I mean, we're going to talk about hops big time in a little bit here, but these types of beers are. It's the. Oh, there's a hops shortage. Well, shit. Let's
brew a bunch of English styles. Yeah. And I'm okay with that because English styles are fucking great.
Well, then you can drink a shitload of them. So.
Yeah, so they're a big moneymaker, and they cost less to make, depending on if you're sourcing local ingredients or not.
Right.
But yeah, so recipe on this one: 4 pounds of Golden Promise, 2 pounds of Simpson's Medium, 1 pound of UK Amber Malt, and half a pound of German wheat malt.
Interesting. Okay, a little bit of wheat.
Yep, and then half a pound of Northdown, or not half a pound, half an ounce of Northdown. Sorry, I was all in pounds.
I was ready to jump all over your ass.
You're like, half a pound? That's way too much. You put 8 ounces.
Who do you think you are?
All right, then we fermented with Y yeast 1728 Scottish ale yeast.
Nice. I have worked with that one on a commercial level.
You have?
Yes.
Long
time ago.
How does it do on a commercial level?
Tastes awesome. It tastes like it gives it a good real that unique
Scottish character.
quality,
yeah.
Scottish character. So, yeah.
All right. So overall impression, we're looking for this beer as a malt-focused, generally caramely beer with perhaps a few esters and occasionally a butterscotch aftertaste. Hops only to balance and support the malt. The malt character can range from dry and grainy to rich, toasty, and caramelly, but is never roasty and especially never has a peat smoke character. I love how they like keep emphasizing that because fucking homebrewers being like, it's Scotch, so we should make it smoky like Scotch.
Well, I think I had mentioned it before, but I know one of the gentlemen that wrote these style guidelines, and I know him pretty well, and I'm sure he's the one that was like, we need to put this in here.
We always blame the mysterious Gary.
Gary? His name's Chris in England. Look him up.
But Gary
Gary
is the fucking character in the show.
God damn it, Gary.
That we get to blame and applaud.
He's here. He's just off camera.
All right, so aroma, we're looking for low to medium maltiness, often with flavors of toasted breadcrumbs, ladyfingers, and English biscuits. Your beer is on the beer can, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
Just so you know.
Yeah. Can I touch it yet?
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you saying? I absentmindedly always move the coaster.
Yep, yeah, so I put a little mark so we can put the coaster back without a problem.
I probably got to fidget with everything. I probably moved this or that.
No, it's fine. No, I found a way to solve the problem.
Yeah, well, I'm drinking this shit.
All right, yeah, so aroma, toasted breadcrumbs, ladyfingers, and English biscuits, low to medium caramel, and low butterscotch is allowable. Light palm fruitiness in best examples. May have low traditional English hop aroma. Peat smoke is inappropriate.
Inappropriate.
Yeah, man. I get like that English, like toffee.
Yep, absolutely.
A little toasted breadcrumb, but I don't know, not a whole lot of toast.
I think the caramel for me is like this is like your biscuit toasted. The caramel's dry, so a little bit more of that, like I think it like your crystal malt, and caramel malt. We can talk about differences in those as well. Are pretty staggering if you
really dig
into it, or if you're really trying to make something canary and pick it out. But the aroma, to me, is more that crystal. Like
I really like the aroma. It's nice, sweet, but not overly sweet.
Yep. There's a little. Sometimes I want to be like roast, but not roast because it's more toast. But
it's real close, right on that,
close.
Right on that edge.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. And then you always sort of have almost a mineral quality to your water, which I mean with this beer where it's like a little bit lower gravity,
You're gonna pick up more on that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it more when we get into flavor. But
all right, appearance: pale copper to very dark brown, clear to low, moderate, creamy off-white. Head ours has been sitting around. Head is dissipated.
Yeah, it's gone. Sorry, people. But when it was there, I would say it was off-white.
Yep. Oh, patented beer light. I mean, pull that up. You get a nice little, nice like ruby highlight almost through it. Man, I'd say this is like riding that line between like copper and brown.
Yeah, I like where you said ruby, and then what I kind of like to look at is like the absolute sides. I'll try to point at the camera here, but like kind of
where it gets dark on the side.
Yeah, like sometimes there's like different things happening on the side, or like maybe sort of in the middle. Yeah, like it nice and like ruby.
All right, flavor entirely malt focused with flavors ranging from pale and bready malt with caramel overtones to rich toasty malt with roasted accents, but never roasty, or a combination thereof. Fruity esters are not required, but add depth, yet are never high. Hop bitterness to balance the malt. No to low hop flavor is also allowed and should be of, Gary, you missed a word there, should be of traditional English character. Finish ranges from rich and malty to dry and grainy. A subtle butterscotch character is acceptable, however, burnt sugars are not.
Not getting any burnt sugars. Definitely malt focused.
Little minerally.
Yep, mineral quality for sure. Just that's your water.
That's my water. Yep.
If you aren't fucking with the water and you're just brewing like a normal regular ass home brewer, you're gonna have little things like that here and there. But as far as the bitterness goes, I don't find it to fold over the back of my tongue into bitterness necessarily, and actually some of that is flavor balance of the sweetness with this beer in particular and this style, I think, has a little bit to do with like that roast character or toast from the malt is going to give it a balance
some
as well.
of that, yeah. No, I get, man, it's like a lot of caramel up front, and then like just like really really dry toast.
Yeah.
Like maybe that like saw the caramel and was like, I could try to be a little sweet, but I'm not gonna try that hard, and like just on the back end, and it finishes pretty dry.
Is this supposed? Let's see. Where does it say? Dry and grainy. Yeah, I'd say it. I wouldn't say it's as dry as it is grainy, which it is.
Yeah,
grainy to me.
Okay. No, it finishes in such a way where my mouth is dry enough where I'm like, I should immediately drink more.
No peat smoke.
No peat smoke.
FYI.
None. Zero. Zip. Nada.
But yeah, no, definitely characteristically dry. So.
Yep. Mouthfeel, medium low to medium body. Low to moderate carbonation. Can be relatively rich and creamy to dry and grainy. This is dry and grainy.
Yeah.
I'd say medium low on the body.
Mm-hmm.
Low carbonation, which, I mean, the only way I would like this better is if it was on a cask and we were running it through like a sparkler to really bring out that like nice big creamy head. And yeah, I don't know.
This is one of the better ones, though, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
that I've brewed? Or I don't know how to take that. Does that mean my other ones have sucked?
Nope.
Or
you know what? Actually, and this is, if you're gonna take anything away from anything I say, like fact check me, fine. I don't care. Send me an email. But like, maybe I'm just in the mood for this beer right now. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
subjectivity. I think we talk about this from time to time, but yeah, I mean subjectivity is just,
it's huge. It's with beer, everything's very subjective.
So maybe
there's things that you can objectively look at a beer and be like, this is a good beer, but then you add that like that how you're feeling in the moment.
Yeah,
and you can have a beer that might be a little substandard, but you have it in that when you're feeling it, and it's the best beer in the world.
Exactly. Yep, subjectivity. But yeah, no, this is tasting pretty good right now.
All right. Well, I'll take it. And I'm gonna say this hit style. I don't think I missed anything on here.
I would say not.
Yeah. If anything, man, what would I'm trying to think of what I would change. If you had to change anything about this beer, what would you change?
Well, just water quality, and then
do some play with the water, which is something that we're going to talk about when we get hit water.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think anything is incorrect about this. I think what I would kind of, if you're following along, or if, whatever, I suppose we can kind of talk about it. But in the comments here, there's a nice robust, compared to others, comment section where it, burning malt or wort sugars via kettle caramelization is not traditional, nor is blatant butterscotch. Now, it's easy to mistake butter diacetyl for butterscotch.
Yeah,
this is a very carefully picked out malt discussion. So I'm not even gonna say butterscotch, but I like that. They say smoke's inappropriate for this style. Let's see here, peat in the water source. Yeah, you're looking at entering this as a smoke beer if you're gonna add any kind of.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if a beer and I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with smoked beers. Some of them I love, some of them I hate. But anytime you start to get like down in, like when we were doing the Piwo Grodzicki, that one, like it was so low, I didn't think that like there wasn't enough body there to handle it, and it turned out that if you pair it with sourness, you can. Like
yeah. Well, in that particular beer, it's an historical style, and the way that the malt was dried,
it was smoked. Yeah,
well, the way they had to do it, it just came naturally, and so it wasn't like, let's try to make this.
Well, and that's kind of where all of the myths of smoked malts.
And that's why they keep pounding in your head, no peat on this.
Yep. But yeah, no, this one, like, I don't like any smoke in here. I feel like it would just overpower the entire beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's like the flavors are delicate enough where it's just like,
yeah, this beer is light bodied. Let's just leave it at that.
And it's that 3.5% range. You can't. There's not a whole lot to work with.
Interesting. So yeah, down at the way bottom though, there in ingredients they're talking about like Scottish Pale. They're talking about using grits or flaked corn.
Yeah, I didn't understand the flake corn thing because
really
corn is a New World product, and I feel like brewers using that would be very cost prohibitive historically.
Yeah, I mean you'd have to probably, if you are going to try to do some grits or flaked corn, that's a body or a head thing, and you might as well just sub chip malt.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we threw in. I'm trying to remember. I have to go back and re-listen to the episode about why we threw wheat in. I think it may have been. Oh, you know what? It was mentioned in the characteristic ingredients, and we're like, wheat sounds fun. Let's put that in there.
Yeah, I mean, I see it working. I mean, not if you're going 100% traditional, but yeah. I see why he would. Was it a wheat malt or flaked wheat?
It was a wheat malt.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. So yeah, so you were trying to get a little bit of a little sugar out of it, a little efficiency out of it. Too.
Well, yeah. Well, and when you're going with a beer like our starting gravity was like 1037, so you don't have much to work with. So anything you're adding in there needs to have some sort of needs to be adding something.
Otherwise, you're overdoing it. Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
Yep, and I don't know. I like Golden Promise as a base malt, and if you're doing a Scottish beer, you should use Golden Promise. That's just my thought.
I'll go with that. The Simpsons, it was the UK.
Yeah, it was the UK. So
that's just like a British pale.
Or no, so the Simpsons, it was medium, so it's their crystal. Like,
my bad.
Yeah, so their crystal medium,
mid-level.
Yeah, because they don't do it by Lovabond. They just do. You have light, medium, and dark, and extra dark. And so it's you're like, because we do like caramel 10, 20, like all the way up, trying to get very nitty gritty.
Ooh, I really like caramel 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use it's like we have to think of a reason to order one bag of malt from a malt company, and so I'm like, oh fuck, what else can we order from this company? Because like Brees, we order their Synergy Pilsner malt, their Midnight Wheat once in a while, but that caramel 10 they make is just, I don't know. It's really interesting, and I really like it.
What do you use it in? Just everything?
Space Force.
Space Force.
Specifically, yeah, the double dry hop, double IPA, it's 8.5%, and it's literally 2 malt. There's a bunch of hops that are, it's not really a secret. There's Galaxy, Mandarin, and Bavaria, and then the bio hop I'll keep under my hat, but yeah.
All right. Well, should we talk about some hops?
Damn yeah.
All right. So while we're talking about hops, I picked up an IPA because I feel like while we're talking about hops, we should have some hops. I picked up Martian Sunrise from Carbon 4, mostly because I liked the label and I saw it and it looked neat. There you go. Oh, you over-rotated. Rotate, like, a quarter turn. There you go. Perfect.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Martian Sunrise.
Yeah. Because I like Mars. I like red IPAs. I like Carbon 4. I don't know how old it is because I just saw it in the cooler on the shelf. And
we'll find out.
I was on my way out with the beer for tonight, and I was like, oh, I'll grab that one, too.
Nice. Where'd you?
Divine.
Ah, got it.
Yeah, Divine and I, we have some torrid history with finding IPAs.
Oh, got it. Ooh.
How's she smell?
Ooh, not. Sea hops.
It doesn't smell super old.
No.
That is good. I like it when it does not smell old.
Yeah.
Smelling fresh is decent. Yeah, so Carbon 4 is in Madison, where your beer is now. Oh,
yeah, whoa.
We like traded.
Yeah, we came home with a bunch of Carbon 4 last week when we went to Madison. Big time fan.
All right. Located in Madison, Wisconsin, Carbon 4 Brewing specializes in English-style malt bombs and perfectly balanced hop grenades. I don't know if I've had anything of theirs that's malt forward. I always get like Fantasy Factory and
Yeah,
stuff
these
like
red
that.
IPA. I mean, I think when I think about a red IPA, I think that it's going to be maybe pretty robust, malty.
Yep, yeah, a little malt forward with and the hops need to complement it. It's same thing with black IPAs. Black IPAs, they're very hard to get right.
This says it's a Mosaic single hop.
But
I get
okay, now that you said Mosaic, now I can smell Mosaic.
grass quality in
yeah.
that, or not like grass, but like
It's a little resiny. It's a little.
it is definitely resiny, and I hate saying the onion garlic thing, but there's like that faint in the vegetal.
I'm not getting that, but that.
Not garlic necessarily, but more onion for me,
All
for
right.
me anyway.
Okay, so let's talk. So this week, so we've talked about just kind of an overview of hops. We talked about what we're trying to get from hops. So this week, I thought it would be helpful to actually kind of break apart the hop flower itself, and talk about the different things that you can get from the hop, and just kind of do a broad overview because I feel like that'll be helpful, especially when we start getting into like some deeper dives into isomerization and hop oils and stuff like that. Just having a nice little background of where these things came from might be nice.
Indeed, yeah. Let's see, where are we going to start here? So you kind of got the different parts of the hop flower. Our outline, Casey's outline. So
Well,
there's pretty obvious parts to it, and there's a strig, and it's listed as the center zigzaggy thing.
that is what it is, though.
But yeah, it's just the thing that
It's the stem in the middle.
it's the stem that everything else hangs onto or clusters onto. So
And it's zigzaggy. I don't.
it is zigzag. Oh man. So then your bracteole.
So I kind of have that out of order there because the bract attaches to the strig.
Right.
So the bract is like the big outer leaves of the cone, like the big leafy green ones.
All right. So when you're rubbing the hops, what falls off would be probably the bract leaves will kind of shed, and then
Then like when you go, actually here, I have it bookmarked. If this helps you,
yeah.
there you go.
See here. Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah. So in the hop book, they have a really nice diagram of the hop and like kind of like a cross section.
Yeah. So I guess when you rub if you're rubbing hops, or if you're finding like whole cone hops, which, I mean, are we kind of getting ahead of ourselves here?
No. Yeah. We're right now we're literally talking about the whole cone, or the hop flower itself. What we're either going to take and pelletize or use to just dump in the beer.
Right. Yeah. So what bract is, the outer part. So that would fall off if you're rubbing, and then I guess bracteole is kind of more like the little area that the lupulin glands kind of sit in, like the resins and oils are kind of chilling out in there, and that's what the yellow powder is.
Yeah. So like the the bracteoles are like the little tiny like inner petal.
Yeah,
like
a little pod.
Yeah, the little
like
pod bit. Yeah, that have that hold the lupulin glands, or that the glands attach to, and the lupulin glands have all the deliciousness that we're looking for. They're kind of found at the base of the bracteole, and they're super easy to like identify. They're yellow. They're sticky. They smell like hops.
That's kind of we'll get, I guess, if we've talked about it, maybe we have, we haven't, but this is when you are storing these like whole cone hops, the glands are what are popping out of the bracteole that are containing all these resins sometimes, and it goes to the bottom of the bale. And so that's why when I think we talked about T40, we talked about pellets last time.
Yep, pellets
And
last time.
So that's your pros and cons there.
Yep.
That's one of the cons.
Yeah, and so like in there you have the resins, the hard and soft resins, the hop oils, the polyphenols, like all the things that you really want out of the hop are really just in the lupulin gland for the most part. And so like the makeup of a cone, like that was in the book, and I thought it was kind of interesting. So like a dried hop cone still has like 8 to 10% moisture. So you still have that, and then 40% of that is just plant matter, cellulose.
Right. And the let's see, like I guess curing, or they do like kilning or drying of hops. That is a
Yep.
specific Tampa specific technique and all.
They
of
don't
that.
just I thought do they not just like air dry hops, or do they actually kiln them?
There is a kilning technique, and
Okay.
apparently that is more important than pelletization. But again,
Really?
I will be hopefully crossing my fingers, taking my first trip to a hop farm.
And I am talking with Gordon about getting a hop farmer on the show too.
Awesome.
So I think that would be, especially while we're talking about hops, that would be perfect to.
I think so too. But yeah, I mean, for as a whole, I guess. Maybe. Let's see, what did we talked about? We talked about the lupulin glands a little bit.
Yep.
Hard resin, soft resin.
Yeah, so I figured we'd go over kind of just the makeup of the cone, and then we can dive into like the actual important bits that we're getting and what they're for.
Right. I'd say for such a simple structure, there's quite a lot of like chemical and essential oils and things, and I guess there's the three main things I can think of out of this are alpha acid, beta acid, and then your all of these essential oils, and these essential oils do all kinds of different stuff. So more on that later.
Yeah. So basically, most of your hop cone is going to be like that plant matter, which includes also like the protein, the ash, and the pectins. And then like 2.5% will be like lipids and waxes. Then you'll have 0 to 20% beta acids, 2 to 5% polyphenols, 2 to 22% alpha acids, and then like 0.5 to 4% essential oils. The minimal amount of essential oils was kind of stunning to me. Like how little of a whole cone is actually like, and then it makes sense why you don't see how, or you don't get like that big hop flavor from like using an ounce of like an ounce of pellets is so much more like in your face than an ounce of like whole cone.
Right, and there's something to be said about solubility of your, the wort solution, of how much of this can you pack in there. Well, I don't know. What are you going for? You know, I mean, if you look at the list I'm holding in my hand, it's you got Udismol, farnesene, geraniol, humulene, isobutyl, isobutyrate, limonene, linalool, myrcene, nerol, terpineol. I mean, the lists just kind of go on, and they all have their own floral, sweet, rose, spicy, orange, woody, blah blah characters.
Yeah, and so those are all the essential oils, right?
Mm-hmm,
yeah. That they all do something different, which is where you get the.
For being such a small percentage, it's a very large impact.
Yep, and I guess looking at these percentages really helped me, like kind of just clarify that difference between pellets and whole cone.
Yeah.
Because pellets, everything's already been ground up, and so it has more surface area. So, like, think of like if you just dropped a cone in some water, for the water to get at and dissolve and get at some of those things in the lupulin glands. First, they have to make it through, the bract and the bracteal, and then most of the surface area is going to be those, and there's not a whole lot of surface area on those glands. But if everything's just kind of ground up, then those glands are ground up in there too, so there's a lot more surface area, so you get a lot more utilization out of it.
Right.
But yeah, so why don't we talk, unless there's something else you want to talk about on here? Okay. Why don't we talk about the different, like, what we're trying to get out of the glands? Just like the little bits and bobs there. So, why don't we start with, like the resins, specifically the soft resin, which includes the alpha and the beta acids.
Yeah, that's the big part. Hard resins, I'm not, I guess, as familiar with, but your soft resins, they do include alpha and beta acids. They contribute to the bitterness, and alpha acids are probably, if you're at a basic level, that's probably all that really ends up mattering. And you can feed that into the
and any hop packet that you buy will have the alpha acids.
Yeah, it's pretty few and far
there.
between that they'll have the betas, but
it's getting more and more. Where they'll list the betas depending on where you're buying from, or what hop you're buying mostly.
Right. And I mean, that's more
if they measure it.
Beta, if you're making an IPA, it makes that a more important number. As far as alpha acids go, that's more just, okay, we know we can feed that into the Ragar formula or the Tinseth formula, and we can kind of estimate, what our
IBUs are going to be.
IBU is going to be, which people relate to more than any other way to say.
No, it's kind of interesting. Like, even when I started drinking beer 10 years ago, there was no IBU wasn't like a thing that you commonly saw at places. But like with the introduction of the craft beer movement and stuff like that, especially around here, everybody knows what an IBU is.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, they might not know what it stands for, but they know that it equals bitterness. The higher the number, the more bitter the beer.
These hazier style IPAs, you're going to get a really low number on, or more heavily dry hopped IPA, you're going to get an inaccurate number.
Yeah.
It's like, how can this hazy IPA be 21 IBU? Well, because all of the hops came after the boil.
Yeah, and they didn't isomerize. And so what I found interesting reading today, and I guess this week, so IPA or alpha acids are usually treated as like a single commodity, and for the most part, you could be like, okay, these are all alpha acids, they're the same thing. Just your layman doesn't care. It's usually like humulone, cohumulone, adhumulone, and I think there's a few others too. I just wrote down the big three, but. Those are the alpha acids, and basically the big difference between those and beta acids is they can be isomerized by heat in a solution, and alpha acids themselves don't have any bitterness.
Right, yeah. Beta acids they'll contribute some bitterness. The bitterness from beta is a lot harsher, so if you are looking for an IPA that doesn't have that like real cutting bitterness, then you want to kind of pay attention to
your betas.
The beta acids do not isomerize like alpha acids,
and so isomerization is basically when you heat them up in a solution, they fundamentally change.
I guess the way I understand it is that you're just, maybe this is overly simplified, but it's like lautering. It's like pulling liquid from solid. It's like pulling oil from vegetable.
I think
vegetal. I don't know, whatever.
That's a good simplification, because you're fundamentally changing the compound, so it's now bitter, and it's no longer like humulone. It's isohumulone. Like it's
your beta acids are what are contributed when you dry hop, and then the beta acids they're the ones that show the antiseptic quality, and it aids in shelf life, and it helps.
I didn't realize betas were the antiseptic ones.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing that and this is another, like, I'm saying this because I've read this, but it helps with shelf life. It helps with the yeast ability to grow the colony. Some research has been done to see what else beta acid from hops could help to preserve, but it's there's another. What do the beta acids do to the fermentation? Like, how do they interact with the yeast? Well, we know one way, but there's still a lot of things about hops and yeast that we're just sort of like,
and that's kind of
cool,
really interesting. This is a process that we've been doing since the dawn of time, and we still have no idea what some of these things are doing.
Right.
At some point you're kind of like, well, do we really care?
Beer tastes good. Tastes real good. Pass me another one.
But I love that the beer nerd community has some of these like scientists that are just like, well, I know that it tastes good, but I don't want to know why. Deeper why it tastes good. Like, I just want to keep going down the rabbit hole. So I read that alpha acids provide the bitterness. and add some stabilization and inhibit bacterial growth. I didn't realize that beta was contributing to that as well. I did read that the more oxidized a hop becomes, so beta acids become bitter when they're oxidized. So the older the hop, usually, the more bitter, like that sharp beta bitterness that you're gonna get.
Right, and then there's another reason why NA beers are so tough, because literally you could put an extremely small amount of hops into the beer, but then if you then take it later and boil the alcohol off, you're like hyper concentrating the alpha acid, the beta acid, and it's making it way, way more bitter. So it's really hard to make.
I wonder if, I have a theory, and I'm sure it's been tried already. But so, what if you just made your wort, fermented your wort with like yeast nutrient, then boiled off your alcohol, but added your hops in while you were doing the alcohol boil?
I don't know. You'd Google it. I don't know.
Yeah, I would just. I mean, yeah, but like, do you have any thoughts on how that would work?
Wow.
Again, this like
I do not.
this is a thing that just popped in my head now. So just kind of spitballing,
Yeah.
brewer or beer conversation as you do, because I feel like your isomerization should work similarly, because I don't think it's sugar based.
Right.
So having no sugars in there shouldn't be an issue.
Well, think about your boil time.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what the boil time is.
It'd be a question mark, because your 60-minute mark. I mean, you do have beers that are like, oh, yeah, the 120-minute IPA or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, you got to think about alpha acids versus.
And
the
if you're doing
boil.
a hop shot, your isomerization will happen a lot quicker.
Right.
And you're not looking for a whole lot of flavor out of that anyway.
Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a really good question for another episode. Is there an NA beer in the style guideline?
There isn't. I
I
wouldn't want to do that anyway, man.
Send an email.
I went through all this work to make alcohol, and I'm gonna get rid of it.
Right. Man,
I had to dump a beer today, and that was bad enough. Like,
it's gotta happen, but
yeah.
it sucks. But yeah, I don't know, where were we? Alpha acids. Yeah, I think we were kind of left off on the antiseptic nature of, and yeah, alpha definitely antiseptic nature. Before the usage of hops, high alcohol. I just break the chair.
No, the chair's been broken, and then I had Carlos fix it once, and then I think it broke again.
Yeah, it just broke.
Yeah, just swap chairs. We'll make Pete sit in that one.
So yeah, but before the hops, and that's why hoppy beer sort of came to be, if you believe that story. And
you mean the story that's been proven false multiple times and proven false so bad that Mitch Steele wrote a book about it?
Yeah. Correct.
Which, if you haven't read, is a really good book.
It's a fine book.
I really enjoy it.
Anyway, before hops, high alcohol content was a way to make the beer last a long time, but the hops are what does that now. We're talking about gram-positive bacteria is the type of bacteria that you don't want in beer, but the unwanted growth of is staved off by alpha acid.
So here's a question that I did not look up, and maybe you can answer. Are hop oils? Is it just time that degrades them, or is it the alcohol content as well?
Depends on what it is, honestly. Because definitely alpha acid is the one that if after we isomerize, it's iso alpha.
Well, yeah. So yeah,
Correct.
once you have the iso there, it's pretty stable, isn't it? That's not going anywhere.
When it reacts with light and
then it skunks.
Riboflavin or B2 or vitamin B2, which comes from the malt, of course. Beer, that's how it skunks. So, and that's why a lot of beers are brown glass, or like why we do cans, and it helps with it's like a certain wavelengths of light, and it's usually just blue light wavelength that is really bad.
So blue bottles would be the best thing, because they will block all blue light.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
I'm just saying. If the blue wavelength is the worst, then we need blue bottles.
Oh man. So what did we talk about? We talked about
Well, no. So I was that brought.
hard resin, soft resin. Where are we at?
We're kind of just spitballing now, because so hop oils are like the first thing to drop off.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure if the higher the ABV, the more that's going to drop off. Like if alcohol does something to degrade those, or if it really is just time. Like something has to be degrading it.
I am certain there is a technical paper that
Yeah, I could look up and read.
that you could look up.
I was just wondering if you had read said paper.
Oh, maybe. I probably just need a refresher.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as like your hop oils go, the essential oils are like
And they're just not stable compounds either. They
Right.
could just be time that's breaking them down.
hugely key component. Because if you're, I mean, it extracting the oils it takes no time at all. It's just part of the boil. But again, we kind of refer to
Our Bible for this series
Yep,
is for the love of hops.
But yeah, you've got just any number of oils here, and when I was listing them, I think myrcene and linalool are a couple of the really popular ones. But extracting the oil, like I said, it takes like next to no time. But there is a reason why they're called volatiles. Most of the initial oil from bittering hops, it evaporates during the boil, which is why we use like a nice clean Magnum or like a Columbus is what we use at the brewery, because we know that there's not a lot of like extra cool shit. We're just like, let's just fucking use the bitterness from the alpha, you know. But the strength, blah. To make these oils stronger, we need to get to the end of the boil, as in like the last minutes, like 5 or less. These essential oils, they produce most of the hop flavor, period, aroma. So grassy, piney, earthy, citrus, spicy, blah, blah, whatever. These are all fragrances that the essential oils lend, to the beer. But just like bittering hops, a lot of the hops that are grown that produce a large amount of oil. So like the bittering hops with alpha acid, many varieties of hops are grown that produce a large amount of oil, but not a lot of alpha. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the ones that we like...
Your juicy hops,
Yeah.
no alpha.
Right, and to that end, we call them finishing hops because they're right at the end of the brewing process. So it can be said that the high essential oil hops are going to be the more expensive ones, I guess, is kind of where I'm going with that.
And that seems to be true. Well, I guess it depends on what essential oils you're looking for.
True. Main one, so most of the flavor and aroma, like humulene is the big one late in the boil. And then this degrades really rapidly. So you're, not to beat a dead horse, but your essential oils are going to be the first that degrade. That's why we refer to them as volatiles. But humulene is a big one. This is probably the most notable in like your noble hops. So this is more, high levels of humulene equals low bitterness or a low alpha acid. But these are also good hops for the last part of the boil to just give it a little quality. Myrcene is another big one. American hop varieties have much higher amounts of that. Has a little to do with terroir. Myrcene creates the citrus and pine, so your Simcoe, your Citra, etc. American craft beers are always super heavy in myrcene as an essential oil.
It's because we love that. It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of my favorites. All right, we're hitting about an hour here, so we should probably
you and I.
Right. It's one of those things. We could talk all day long.
It's true.
But the problem is we have to record 2 more shows after this.
This is true.
So we're going to be talking literally all night long.
We covered everything. My list looks pretty complete, except for we did not talk about polyphenols.
We did not. So let's hit that. Let's just do a quick blurb on polyphenols.
Sure.
I tried to look up how much hop polyphenols contribute versus malt polyphenols, because you get them from both, and every paper I looked up only talked about malt polyphenols.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
well, or the way that those polyphenols interact with the yeast, because when we talk about
so like polyphenols are a compound that are tasteless and odorless, but can contribute to haziness and astringency. But I don't think they're there in high enough quantities in hops to really make a difference versus what you're getting from your malt.
I don't think so either. And then when I was looking this up, there's not much to, I guess, phenols, poly meaning many, but phenols like
phenols is usually like an aroma,
right?
But these are odorless, like
like isoamyl acetate. That's what, like your esters are a banana, and wouldn't isoamyl, wouldn't that be like a phenol?
Yep. Yeah. So you have you have like the phenolics that you get from yeast and stuff. You usually don't contribute phenolics to hops.
I guess the only thing I can say about contributing the haziness is that there's like that
biotransformation
and hop. We talk about that definitely.
Do you think that's pulling the phenols then, and that's what's causing the haze?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we need to do an entire episode on. We need to do an entire episode on biotransformation.
Very true.
But so next week, I think we should talk about hop classification.
Okay.
Because you hit on a very important thing earlier: noble hops versus C hops versus, English hop. Like what do we use to create these, or like New World hops, or like what are these like loose classifications that you hear every day, and what hops fall into them?
Depends on what you're trying to do.
Yep. Oh, yeah. So next week we'll talk about that. I think that'll be fun because there's a few... I feel like there's a few, like, contentious hops out there. Like, should it be considered a noble hop or not? Like, so maybe we can have some fun, lively debate. Probably not, but...
Usually agree.
Yep. All right. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in this week, and I hope you're enjoying the hop series so far because we're having fun doing it. It's definitely different than the 80 Style Challenge. I like that I don't have to brew every week. Maybe next week or the week after, we'll start talking about what kind of homebrew experimentation we can do, and so we can get some brewing in and talk about those.
In preparation for that, get yourself a copy of Radical Brewing. That's a fantastic book.
All right, I will order that on Amazon when we're done here. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in this week. If you have any questions, comments, show ideas, or what have you, go ahead and shoot us an email at feedback@blinderstudios.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/blinderstudios. You can follow us on Twitter at blinderscornhunja. If you'd like to support us, head over to patreon.com/blinderstudios. Become a patron today. And I'll see you guys next week.
Peace.